This is Larry Culpepper. I love college football so much that I went ahead and came up with the idea of the playoff for it. And the only way I can get ready for each and every Saturday of college football is by listening to the Championship Drive podcast.
Pardon the interruption, but I'm Mike Wilbon in Chicago for the Cubs celebration. This could be the best day of my life, Tony. What was yours?
I'm Tony Kornheiser, and I can't be specific, but it involved a jar of coconut oil, 3 mousetraps, and Mickey Rourke.
Ooh, I gotta say, Tony,
yeah,
between us,
yeah,
Mickey Rourke, dead or alive? Mickey Rourke.
He was alive this morning.
We've had some hours between then and now. What are you saying?
That's a really funny line. It's not my line. It's a really funny line. Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. In today's episode, Draymond Green is upset. What's new? Matt Ryan is excelling, and Rex Ryan left Game 7 early. But we begin today with the first meeting of Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook while no longer teammates in the NBA. Durant scored 39 points to Westbrook's 20, and Golden State cruised by Oklahoma City by 26 points. Notably, the two former dear friends and brothers did not even shake hands, let alone greet each other warmly. Wilbon, what is your takeaway from this game?
Well, Tony, my takeaway from that, real quickly to address it, is their hard feelings. And, you know, often we see hard feelings. I mean, I remember hard feelings between Magic Johnson and Isaiah Thomas. And, you know, they come and they go over time, and so they'll go at some point. Golden State has had a couple of message games already. One of them was in the preseason when they beat the Clippers by 137 and basically said, we are tired of you. Get out, and just smacked them like a lion would smack a little cub. And they did this to Oklahoma City last night. You know, I think Oklahoma City is going to be fine. I think they're going to be good, not as good as Golden State. But the Warriors had something to say last night. They said it loud. Yeah,
I knew you would care about the game, and I don't care about the game at all. Now, nothing in the game surprised me. Westbrook had played the night before against the Clippers, you know, second night on the road, second game in 2 nights on the road. Durant was pumped up. Durant was great. No, I cared about the snub. This was very important to me. The aggrieved party here is Russell Westbrook. Kevin Durant has taken shot after shot after shot at him and spent this whole week saying, we're dear friends, we're like brothers, I'm going to invite him to my wedding when I get married, we're going to get over this, and then did not do anything to approach Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook didn't have to approach him. Kevin Durant, it sort of revealed as a lie, much of which he has said, because he did not approach him. And I thought that the cool thing that Westbrook did, because everything he wears deliberately, because he's a fashion guy. He shows up in a photographer's vest, totally mocking Kevin Durant, who was, I think, taking photographs at the Olympics and stuff like that. He knew exactly what he was doing. But to me, Mike, Durant had to be bigger last night, and he didn't do it.
What?
Yep.
What?
Yeah, you heard it.
Kevin Durant doesn't owe Russell Westbrook jack. You know why he could be the aggrieved party? Because Russell Westbrook left him standing like this half the possessions of his life. Are you on drugs?
I told you
that.
Did you
watch Oklahoma City the last 10 years?
I'm the one who told you that's why he left. But
here's Kevin Durant.
This is a different issue. What happened?
What?
Doesn't Kevin Durant owe him some sort of acknowledgement?
Him jack.
Okay.
He didn't owe him nothing. And by the way, Westbrook doesn't owe Kevin Durant anything. Let him beef. Good.
Snub.
That's what happens. Playground, baby. As is often the case, there is a sidebar from this game, Warriors game, that involves Draymond Green. For the second time already this season, Green was assessed a technical foul for taunting, even though video evidence is less than conclusive that Green got in anybody's grill. He said after last night's game, quote, I got 2 texts this year for yelling, ah! At this point, do I need to wear a mask? Am I allowed to show emotion on the floor? Close quote. Tone, is Green right to be upset about getting texts for yelling?
First of all, he should wear a mask. He should wear a Hannibal Lecter mask. Everybody would think that was funny. They'd wheel him onto the court. Everybody would like that. I don't know how loud he's yelling. I don't know if it's like the horrible grunting in tennis that nobody can listen to. I think that Draymond Green is right when he says that people pick on me because of stuff I did before. Yes, I think that that's actually right.
That's right.
I think he's sort of like, I don't know. I'm not certain about this. He's an agent provocateur. I mean, that's what he does. He's always poking the bear. He's always trying to get away with something, and I think referees really resent that, and I think this is what's going to happen to him. I mean, he's like the Richard Sherman of the NBA, that he's always railing against something.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that at all. But let me just say this. He didn't deserve either tech. I mean, Tony, I was at the first game. He yells, and it was sort of in the direction of Aldridge, but it wasn't in his grill. I'm not even sure their faces were pointed at each other at the same time. So after the game, I covered that game. I said to Draymond, you're going to get that tech rescinded. And Draymond said, what are you, nuts? They're not rescinding anything on me. I'm going to have to live with this tech, even though I didn't yell at him. And I said, well, let's have a bet. We have a dinner bet. I'm going to lose because they haven't rescinded it. And they're not going to rescind this one either. And Draymond and you are right. And Tony, but this is what happens. You can build a lifetime. What's that saying? Trying to build a reputation, and it can be torn down in a week. Because this is what happens.
But he's tearing down his own reputation. He's a great player. He's a great teammate. But he goes out of his way to act as if he's above the law. Don't you agree?
Well, I don't think that was above the law. He just yelled. It's not a tech. It is not a technical foul. But he's going to have to live with it.
It is for him.
It is for him.
It is for him.
It is.
Matt Ryan was terrific last night against Tampa Bay. He completed 25 of 34 passes for 344 yards, 4 touchdowns, no picks. Last Sunday, Ryan defeated Aaron Rodgers, threw for 3 touchdowns, no picks. Atlanta currently has the number 1 offense in the NFL. Wilbon, will you buy the notion that Matty Ice is the MVP?
Matty Ice has about as much chance to win the MVP as me. I'm going to say this one time, and you can have the final minute and a half in this segment. Tom F. Brady is the MVP, okay? Not Matty Ice, not Michael Jordan, not Joe Montana, not John Elway, not Babe Ruth. The MVP of this NFL season, should he continue to play anything like this, is Tom Brady. We know it. There's no disputing it. The floor is yours.
No, that's 100% right. If he plays like this, and for 12 games, when I believe they illegally kept him out of 4, he's going to win it unanimously. But Matt Ryan has been very good. And one of the interesting things about Atlanta is that Matt Ryan's been a good quarterback for a long time. They got a running game this year. Aaron Rodgers is now, as you know, throwing on every down. It's very hard to win that way. Brady can do that because they design a game plan against one specific team, and then the next week he hands it off 44 times. But you can't win by always throwing the ball. And Kyle Shanahan has done a good job with the offense in Atlanta, and they run the ball well. So Ryan looks good. They've defeated some good teams. I think they won at Oakland. They won at Denver. They beat Green Bay.
Games.
Yeah, they did. They had bad losses,
too. Tony, all of that is true. The reason for doing this story is Matt Ryan the MVP?
No.
He has no chance of winning the MVP if Tom Brady plays in all these games. If Tom Brady plays in 12 of these games, and he might go 12-0. Brady might go, if he goes 10-2.
Yeah.
Tom Brady is so we don't need to trumpet up any other straw man to be the MVP.
Okay. But I thought you were giving me the whole rest of the show, and you didn't do it.
This message was approved by me.
Okay.
Tomorrow. Very big college football Saturday, Tone. But we got news about college football on our Fridays. My conference, the Big Ten, has announced it will play 6 Friday night games per year over the next 6 years. Michigan, bless their pointed little heads, is against this, as all right-thinking people should be. Tony, I know you didn't grow up on college football, but you love it now.
I do.
Would you love it on Friday nights, too?
I mean, I hear you rail all the time about Thursday night football in the NFL, and I'm glad to hear you rail about Friday night football in college. I mean, I assume the Big Ten is doing this because they can make a bunch of money, because as Don Ohlmeyer once said, the answer to all your questions is money. I don't know how you feel about the fact that Northwestern seems to be in favor of this.
I'm going to tell you in a second.
Well, no, tell me no. Tell me now. Tell America now.
I hate it. And I will, not that anyone cares at my university, but, I sort of sit and watch football games sometimes with the president and athletic director, like I will tomorrow, versus the Badgers, right north of this Wrigley Field in Evanston. And I will make it known, this is awful. This is a hideous, awful, not even shrouded money grab, and my school should be against it, because I know we got people who study real curriculum. We should be against it. People come to games on Friday to see them on Saturday. You're alums. You have people who do this. This is awful. It is a money grab of the worst order, and I'm damn against it, and everybody ought to be against it. And I'm siding up now with Michigan people. Do you know how angry it makes me to be linked up with Wolverines? They're right.
Do you just want to go back on just what most of that was really good, but do you still want to take that position that those college kids are studying on Friday night?
They don't have, you know what, Tony? Even if they're not studying on Friday nights, they shouldn't be playing on Friday nights.
And I'm fine with that. Here's the part that I don't understand at all. And I respect Michigan for doing this. I think Penn State said they don't want to do it. But Michigan said they're not going to do it. And the commissioner of the Big Ten said that's okay. So how does that work? If you have a conference and everybody's allegedly equal in this conference, how is it okay for one team to say, we're not going to do it?
What is that? Let me say something really obnoxious. I hope it's the richest school. We say we're not going to do it. This is preposterous, and it needs to be shouted down.
Right. Well, on this final story in this block is especially for you. It's about a particular Chicago Cubs fan, Rex Ryan, head coach of the Buffalo Bills. Ryan, son of the legendary Chicago Bears defensive coordinator Buddy Ryan, rented a bus to drive him and some pals from Buffalo to Cleveland for Game 7 on Wednesday. With the score tied and the game about to go to extra innings, rain forced a delay. Rex did not wait it out, even though it was only 17 minutes. He got on the bus. He drove home, missing the Cubs' first world championship in 108 years, just one inning later. Wilbon, do you give Rex Ryan a pass on this?
A total pass, Tony. I know what happened in Cleveland. I don't have to look at the highlights. About 20 minutes, maybe 30, enough time with these games, the pace of these games, get one inning in. It didn't just rain, Tony. The Lightning forced ESPN and its sets and its reporters off of the field, down into a tunnel. There would have been no more baseball played that night. How do we know? Because Major League Baseball either had made a plan or was making a plan to finish the game the next day. So Rex Ryan couldn't stay for that. Rex Ryan and whoever he came with had to go and coach a football team. So Rex not only gets a pass, he wasn't the only one who left the stadium, but it poured not long thereafter.
I don't come to bury Rex Ryan here. I come to praise him. You say this all the time, that the most rigid, ridiculous people in the world are football coaches, that they work 24 hours a day, and in season you can't talk to them and they don't talk to anybody. This guy is working. He's a head football coach, and he took a bunch of guys on a bus to go see a baseball game. And I'm applauding that. If he had to leave, I would have left in the 6th, because that's just me. But I'm okay with that. The great news about this is the bus, this billion-dollar party bus, the radio didn't work. So he had to get his brother Rob to call him with the score. And the great thing about that is that means Rob wasn't on the bus. He wasn't even invited to this thing. That's great. Let's take a break. Coming up, Alabama bottled up Leonard Fournette last year. Is there reason to believe tomorrow night will be any different?
And does it actually hurt the Southeast Conference if Bama loses?
I'm going 180 on Rex. I love Rex Ryan now.
Yeah, I give Rex a pass on this. I give him a pass totally. It was storming. What are they supposed to do?
17 minutes is all it lasted.
Hey, it's Matthew Berry from Fantasy Focus Football Podcast. Today on the show, Bill Gates, Stefania Bell, and I recap week number 9. That's right, it was the Mark Ingram Redemption Tour. Should you be worried about Dez? All that and so much more on today's episode of the Fantasy Focus Football Podcast.
Big college football game tomorrow night as number 1 Alabama travels to Baton Rouge to take on 15th ranked LSU. To help us break it down, we're pleased to welcome back SEC Network analyst Booger McFarland. Let's start with this. LSU has played better since Les Miles' departure. What is Ed Orgeron doing to make them better?
Well, I think the first thing he's doing, he's listening to his players. You know, one of the things under Les Miles, Tony, is those guys practice way too long. Les Miles would have marathon practices that went on 3.5 hours. Ed Orgeron doesn't have that. He has very short, crisp practices. He gets his players fresh. The players respond. He has different type days. They have like competition Tuesday. They have turnover Thursday. So he has themed practices where he gets these guys. They're all motivated. They're all engaged, and they're ready to go. And therefore, he's getting more out of the guys, and the guys are fresher on Saturday. Les Miles just beat these guys down. He's not doing that.
Let's talk about one guy I know you don't want to see beat down if you're on the LSU sideline. That's Leonard Fournette, who got shut down by the Tide last year. Booger, are we looking at a repeat, or is Orgeron going to do something to sort of free up his star running back?
Well, you know, as much as I want to make this about Leonard Fournette, Mike, it's not about him. It's about the 5 guys up front, okay? Leonard Fournette couldn't run against the Alabama defense. I don't know if Herschel Walker could have ran against the Alabama defense last year. If you can't block those guys up front, mainly Jonathan Allen, you have no clue. And I think what Steve Ensminger and Ed Orgeron is going to do, they're going to spread them out. They're going to open the field up, and they're going to try to put their playmakers in space. And don't be surprised if Darius Geis, who is a different running back. He can kind of cut on a dime and give you 9 cents change if he has a bigger day than Leonard Fournette, because Fournette is more of a power back. Geis is a speed back. So those guys up front, meaning an offensive line, they have to block Alabama, not only for the running game, Mike, but they got to give Danny Etling a Purdue transfer. They got to give him some time in the pocket to throw the football.
You got skin in this game. You played in this game. This game matters to you. It is very difficult, even with the disparity in ranking, it is very difficult to go into LSU at night and win that game. And even if you're in Alabama, if LSU wins this game, what does that do for the playoff? Does it actually hurt the SEC if LSU wins this game?
Well, Tony, I don't think so, because I think if it wins this game, Alabama has proven in the last 2 years, even with a loss, they can get to the college football playoff. They lost to Ole Miss the last 2 years. And if you're LSU, you have your season in front of you. Yes, you would need some help. You would need Alabama to beat Auburn. But if LSU runs the table, wins the SEC championship with an Alabama victory over Auburn, LSU is in the playoff. I understand it's early and that may be a wild scenario, but for this game, it's very big. And to your point, Tony, this means a lot for the state of Louisiana. People don't understand how big this game is. Understand that Saban was at LSU. He turned LSU into a perennial power. He left, went to Miami, and then by way of Miami, went to Alabama. Then he comes back into Louisiana, and he gets a lot of top-notch recruits. So for people in Louisiana, not only for Nick Saban to be at Alabama, but for him to win national championships at Alabama and to bring Alabama back to LSU every other year and beat them, this game is personal, it's big, it's huge, and for everyone in the state of Louisiana, it's the biggest game of the year every year, particularly this year.
We get you out of here on this. Washington plays at Cal this week. Washington is undefeated, and until the game where they needed the punt return to win, they were blowing people out by 1 billion points. And yet they did not make the top 4 in the first playoff poll. They were behind Texas A&M. Do you expect Washington to make that playoff?
I think if Washington goes undefeated, it's a better than 75-25 chance they make the playoff. But based on where they were in the initial rankings, it's clear one thing, guys. The committee does not respect the schedule of Washington. They haven't played anybody. Their best win is against Utah, Stanford, who's down, and Oregon, who wants to fire their coach. So if I'm Washington, I want to make sure, guess what? I go out and win every football game, because if I lose, all bets are off. Even if they win the Pac-12, even if they're 11-1, in my opinion, an 11-1 Washington team just may not get in the college football playoff because of that non-conference schedule. So if you're a fan of the Huskies, hey, you better root for them to win every ball game.
It's a delight. Thank you for joining us, Booger.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
No doubt. Shout out to Will Bond. I got you, Will Bond. I got you, baby.
Thank you, sir.
Get him off the air. It's another Cub hat. Get out.
I like it.
You can catch Booger every weekend on SEC Now. Let's take one last break. Still to come, should Tom Brady's suspension disqualify him from MVP consideration? Reggie Wayne thinks so. Really?
And Derrick Rose, Chicago's own, returns here to Chicago tonight. So will Joakim Noah. Standing ovations?
What do you think? I don't think so.
Tony.
Yes?
Standing ovation guaranteed.
Okay.
Ovation.
Hey everybody, Scott Burnside, ESPN.com here on the latest edition of Hockey Today, the podcast. We hear from New Jersey Devils Captain Andy Green, talking about the Devils' surprising start, and Milan Lucic of the Edmonton Oilers joins us.
Happy time, people. Happy 28th birthday, Dez Bryant. One of a pack of great wide receivers in the NFL that believe every pass should go to them. I got Dez Bryant, Odell Beckham Jr., A.J. Green, Julio Jones, and Antonio Brown in this group. And you know what? Every pass should go to them. They're really good.
Why you always have to put Larry Fitzgerald in that group? Ain't none of those guys as good as Larry Fitzgerald. None of them been the best player on a team that got to the Super Bowl. Larry Fitz, dude.
I'm putting Larry Fitzgerald in that group, too.
Good.
Happy anniversary, Luis Gonzalez. On this day 15 years ago, he hit a blooper just beyond the infield off of Mariano Rivera that drove in the World Series winning run for the Diamondbacks. That's as dramatic a moment as there is. The Cubs-Indians Game 7 may have attracted more viewers in total, but the D-backs-Yankees Game 7 is the highest-rated baseball game this century.
Yeah, Tony, but Toronto, remember, won with a walk-off home run, 23 years ago? That was even more dramatic than that. That was Mazeroski-like.
Happy trails, Mike Evans. Watch this fantastic one-handed catch from last night's game. It is possible that Evans suffered a concussion on this play, and although he came back to the game, Evans later left and appeared almost disoriented at times. The Tampa Bay wideout now under the concussion protocol.
Tony, these days a hit like that, no matter how clean and necessary, along the sideline often draws a flag. Yeah. Now, I wasn't watching that live. I don't know if a flag came out later, but it's a clean hit, shoulder to a guy's upper body. That's what happens. It's football.
One omission. We never talked about the parade in Chicago. How was it?
Tony, I woke up this morning finally and realized the Cubs had won. It took me a bit, and the parade is not just a parade. It was a rally. There was a celebration that seemed to attract 5 million people. You just walked up and down the street, and everybody was wearing Cub stuff, some people in full uniforms. And it was a celebration that took generations. People were weeping because they were thinking about their parents and their grandparents and uncles and aunts, people who never got to live long enough to see the Cubs win. It's the greatest thing I think I've ever seen.
That's great. That's great. Good for you. Good for you. Let's go to the big finish.
Let's do it.
Tyronn Lue says LeBron James could average a triple-double if he wanted to. Are you with him?
I think so, Tony, if LeBron wanted to. But he's not that selfish a guy. He just doesn't have that in him. But he could. Reggie Wayne says Tom Brady's suspension should make him ineligible for the MVP. You agree with that?
I strongly disagree with that. He served his time. He's back. He's playing without any restrictions. This is Colts versus Patriots crime here. No, he's the MVP. Diamondbacks will reportedly hire Torey Lovello as their new manager. You like it?
No, Tony. I mean, that's fine. But how about another guy with TL as initials? Tony La Russa. Forget being a special advisor. Tony La Russa, Hall of Fame manager. The Rockets face the Hawks tonight, and James Harden says he has no beef with Dwight Howard, your boy. You believe that?
Not only don't I believe it, you don't believe it. Nobody believes it. Nobody believes that. Dwight Howard's where he belongs. This is his hometown of Atlanta. It's where he belongs. Last one, Derrick Rose returns to Chicago night. You'll be there. Will he get a standing O?
A passionate standing ovation. One for Derrick Rose, one for Joe Noah, Tony. It's going to be that kind of night there.
We're out of time. We'll try and do better the next time. And I'm Tony Kornheiser.
I'm Mike Wilbon. Have a great weekend, knuckleheads. Check out the PTI podcast on iTunes.
Adam Ferrara, shout out. Comedian, very funny. DC Improv all weekend.